Welcome, Night Owls, to the Book Club After Dark podcast, an inviting moonlit podcast. I'm your host, Danny.
And I'm Michelle. We review fantasy, romantasy, dark romance, and thriller novels.
All things enchanting, intriguing, suspenseful, and maybe a little spicy.
Each episode features intimate discussions on captivating stories, fan theories, and more. And this is your content warning. This podcast contains mature themes and discussions that may not be suitable for all audiences. Episodes include explicit language and descriptions of mature romance, as well as depictions of violence and other intense subject matter. This podcast is rated R for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Yep. And going forward from here, tonight, we are going to have lots of spoilers for, as much as we can, the Ashen series, because it's incomplete. So consider this your spoiler warning for Road of Bones, Kingdom of Claw, Dawn of the North, all of our things. We're also going to be talking a little Roots of Darkness. We've got a lot going on. We're really excited for tonight's episode. So consider this your spoiler warning.
Let's get cozy because the best stories are told after dark.
So tonight we are interviewing and introducing the fantastic and wonderful author that is Demi Winters, who wrote the Ashen series, which we're currently covering. So we're really excited to have you here. Demi, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and introduce yourself for our listeners?
Thank you so much for having me. So I'm Demi. I write Viking romantasy.
Yes, you do.
And
Very well.
I've had like a crazy career path that has veered from like science research to running a food blog and now writing romantasy. So
okay. Well, we're very interested in hearing more about all of that. Okay. Well, welcome. Welcome. Can you start at the beginning? How did that happen? How did we end up here?
Yeah, so I feel like I'm always driven in some way by creativity and by like that creative spark. Like even when I was in science, my favorite part was coming up with the experiments to like prove or disprove a theory. I loved like all of the puzzling out of things and just having to really think outside the box. But eventually I completely burnt out on that. On that. I mean, I had a family is what happened. And then I was like, wow, I don't want to work 60 hours a week anymore. It's not fun anymore.
Yeah.
So then I was like, oh, I got to pivot. And I had this hobby food blog. And I saw that people were earning money with it. So I built, while I was on mat leave a little bit, I built that up into like a somewhat profitable business. And I made the leap and eventually was able to build it up to the point where my husband was able to quit his job and join me. But then, meanwhile, I burnt out on that. This is a reoccurring theme for me. And so like writing the Ashen series came about when I was in like the worst burnout state of my life. And I was like trying to find my way out of it. And I was like, as a child, I used to love writing stories. Like maybe I should revisit that as an adult. But then very quickly it was like, this isn't just a book. This is like a 5-book series and it's got all this world building and magic system. And so soon I was like, okay, this is what I really want to do now. And so the food blog kind of did its thing in the background while I wrote. And then when I got my book deal with Penguin, I was able to sell the blog and like fully close that chapter. And so, I have the most random
That's amazing.
past.
No, but that's really interesting. Like, okay, so now I have questions about food. Well, what kind of food was it about? Like, what tips and tricks, or like, what was like your biggest, I don't know, what is something like most viral, most popular thing that like people learned from food blogging? I'm so intrigued by this.
So I was a meal prep food blogger. So like my focus was on like anything you could prep on like a Sunday and then eat throughout the week. This came about from me being like, this is so weird. I don't actually love cooking, especially on a weeknight when like you just need to get food on the table. So it was more like if I love doing it on the weekend though. So it's like if I could just do everything for the week on the weekend and then make the week easier. So my most viral recipe was 7 different chicken marinades, and you like prepared them ahead and froze them, and then you would just thaw them out as you needed them. That was my most viral for sure.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love that. I need to get better at meal prepping. I feel like I don't. And then it's, 5 p.m. on a Wednesday, I'm like, well, do I cook with ground chicken or ground turkey today? Like, I didn't know this is the cycle of my life where I have to figure out what to do
Yes.
with these two different meats
Yes. And
forever.
it's like often it's still frozen. Like that was me. It was like I got to like flash thaw this chicken or
Yeah.
whatever.
And then just smash it in the pan while it's still kind
Oh
of
my gosh.
frozen.
Yeah. Oh,
You're
it's
like, come
thawed
on.
enough.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You're running it under the hot water because you're like, oh shit, I gotta freaking get. We have nothing ready. Like, oh god,
Yeah.
yeah, I can relate to that a little too heavily, especially in this like phase of life of all the things. Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's awesome. Actually, I think that
Yeah.
that's a. It sounds like you were kind of writing in the food blogging realm for a while, and I wonder if that like just like was a good natural segue to writing more creative work for you, or maybe you felt gave you the inspiration to kind of I've been writing for a while. What if I try to go write something totally different? And I don't know if that was maybe did that help at all? Do you think that the prep of writing for the blog?
Yes, I definitely think the blog writing, also the science writing, definitely have helped me. But when I started food blogging in like 2012 or something, it was more like journal style where you like write like you're talking to a friend. And so I do think that style of writing like filled my creative cup in some way. But then by the end, what I was doing was writing for Google search, which is very technical. Like, this is how you make mashed potatoes the absolute best. These are the potatoes you need. And like this, you can't use this butter, but you make sure you use that. Or you know what I mean? It was very nitty gritty technical stuff, which was not
because you wanted to
very...
pull, well, because then what happens is for those who like aren't deeply familiar with kind of what Demi's getting at, and I'm filling something in here, but there are like search engine power words and things that like these search engines look for. So from a technical perspective, like we think about that when we do an interview. How are we going to title it? What is that going to pull from? What is YouTube going to pull from when it goes to do? So there's that like technical aspect of you go from like, let me write this organically to a friend to, okay, now I have to think about how is this going to be seen by anyone and not get buried, out there in the internet world. Like, what?
That's exactly it.
Even see this, yeah.
There's a lot of chasing of keywords, and there's a lot of competition in the food blogging world for things, for those, really basic, I would say, recipes like mashed potatoes. That is like, whoever is the top spot on Google is like earning the crap ton of money. Like from the clicks to those posts, they're earning so much money. So there's a lot of competition, and that really I just really didn't like that after a while. It's actually kind of wild to me to switch from that competition, that level of competition where like then your friends start like scooping your keywords and trying to, you know what I mean? Like there is a nasty element.
And I wonder too, like, what's the hottest thing right now? Like, it's spring. Are we all doing, Easterish recipes, Irishish, each month? Is there like something that everybody's trying to like be the top spot on to click on for comfort foods in January or like dry January? These are some of the good, whatever the thing is. I feel like that would be like, I could see because the Bookish community can be like that too, but I could see that there are like trends you want to try to follow. And then so like your organic creativity of what you can create is limited because now you have to like fall into this pattern of like cyclical click stuff. I could see that.
Yeah. And what I have found, it is just so surreal coming from that super competitive food blogging space, is that authors are like, at least my core set of friends we do not view each other as competition because like we can only write so fast. Like we're never going to be able to keep up with reader appetites. And so there's just, to me, it feels like there's a lot more community and helping each other and, lifting each other up that I really like. I love it.
Yeah, that's great.
I love that for the authors because me and Danny have talked about how the bookish space can sometimes be a toxic space. And I love how you talk about how like you as authors create your own safe space. So you don't really have that, and you have that community because no one else understands all the pressures that you have from, algorithms to fans wanting certain things and just, meeting deadlines more than other authors. So that's great that you guys created that community.
Yeah, it took a little bit to find it. I will say, like, if there are any authors listening, it can take a little while to find your people, but you will, like, just don't be afraid to slide into people's DMs or like leave them comments or share their posts. Maybe don't like right off the bat ask for something, but like, we notice when, we notice no, if I didn't have these authors in my life, I would be miserable. I mean, like it is a little bit, it can be toxic. There can be some, and I think also just like being chronically online, there's like a lack of, what do you want to call it? Nuance. Like people just don't understand nuance online. Like it's like black or white. There's no gray. And so having a group chat when like things are misinterpreted or, like sarcasm doesn't come across properly or, anything like that, having a group chat is so good because you can just like vent privately. Because that's the problem. Don't do it publicly. You vent privately and then you get over it and you move on with your life.
Yeah. I think that it's interesting that you say that because I feel like Michelle and I have made a point to, in the beginning stages of having our podcast, right? And we work full time and we're moms and all of this, but the creative space that we've been able to like cultivate with other podcasters. So like Banter and Bookmarks, I think you were on with them and those ladies and they're fantastic. And we kind of shared the same sentiment. We have a lot of podcasters who are just getting started who have reached out to us for tips, or we have much, much larger influences that we've had. And our view set is like the same. Like we might be covering different books or different topics, but no one's Michelle and Danny and no one's Banter and Bookmarks. And we're all doing our own types of things. We have our own elements that are creatively different. And whether even if we have the same interview guest, the style and way that we all speak to each other is totally different and nuanced and its own thing. So we've never viewed any of them as competition either. And it's made a really great foundation of them being able to reach out to us and like, hey, maybe we should do an event with all of us one year. Like, wouldn't that be cool? Or just stuff like that makes it so while, yes, technically we're all in the same type of space, just like you all are authors, we're doing something creatively differently with the same medium. So there's no competition there. And I think that it just speaks to how you can have truly positive experiences in the bookish community, and that hopefully those negative ones are either isolated experiences or ones that you don't continue to try to foster or find yourself in. But yeah, that's awesome.
All right, well, let's get into the Ashen series because I am dying to pick apart your brain on this series. Okay, so this is categorized as the Road of Bones, and the Ashen series is categorized as a Viking romantasy. So how did you originally get the inspiration for creating this world, going specifically with Vikings and your characters in the series?
So I definitely didn't have like some big light bulb moment. There were just like a lot of small brainstorming sessions. I'm a big kind of girl. Just grabbing my notebook. This is all the notes I've taken on book 4. Like this is me trying to...
Demi is holding up a notebook, a physical binding notebook that she has for those listening. So you could probably hear her in the background. She's gathering some
rummaging around.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a lot of like searching actively for ideas. When I sat down to write it, I was like, I didn't have ideas. I didn't have any idea what I was going to write about. I knew I wanted to write romantasy because it's what I personally enjoyed reading. And I knew I wanted to have like a cool magic system, and I really love the type of story where the setting is like its own character, where it's really unique and vibrant and memorable. So I was sort of like on the lookout for ideas. I had actually written a couple of drafts of the book when I figured out it was going to be about Vikings. But, it's probably better if you figure that out first.
But I kind of like that. I think that allows people to feel like you don't have to have it perfect the first time, that it can be explorative. And that's kind of awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So the Rotobones was quite the learning process, because not only was I building out an entire world, but I was learning how to tell a story in a way that was like entertaining for people to read. So that was quite the learning experience. But yeah, the way I came across Vikings was I was watching a random video of a volcano erupting, and it was in Iceland. And I was like, oh my God, Iceland is so cool. It's got the fire and ice, black sand beaches and volcanoes and glaciers. And so from there came Vikings. And then when I did a lot of research and sort of wove it in, setting just felt so much more what I was hoping for. Like those first few drafts, it was missing. So yeah.
That's awesome.
And you can tell that you did a lot of research, because the language, the names, the places, Blood Axe. So the reason why I know this is because after reading your book, I was watching a Viking documentary on Disney Plus. It was about the location. It was talking about like the Blood Axe, and how like that's like a name that they were given for like, people who are like really strong, or that's when they kill people. So I like, I know that term. Demi used that term.
Blood Axe is actually like, there was a king named Eric Blood Axe, and he was like exiled or something. I don't even think he was like that great of a person. Like he wasn't like a Ragnar Lothbrok kind of guy. He was like, anyway, somehow he got this name. But I think there's going to be a new Viking TV series called Blood Axe. And I definitely like a lot of the names, and especially the Viking nicknames, were borrowed from the Icelandic sagas. Basically, like, they all had the same name. Not all, but like there's a lot of Thors, Thorstein, Thorvald, Thor, honoring Thor. And so they gave them nicknames to differentiate them. So, there would be like Thor the Proud, and there would be like Thor the Clever, and Thor the Slender, or
I love that.
They had some other names that were somewhat amusing. Like there was one, his nickname was Horsecock. That's like, okay. I didn't put that one in my book.
Well endowed.
He was clearly proud of that.
Yeah. All right then.
I love the literal nature though.
Yeah.
Like, we talked about that with like, how Ray names his horse. Like we're just gonna name the horse. That's okay. And it was, what was it? Twig Arms. And he was like, no, Strong Arms. Like, okay. So that like cracks me up, because you're in like these high intensity moments, and then we're just gonna randomly not randomly, but we're gonna throw in a name that's a literal name, and it's just it gave me a giggle every time. So I loved that aspect of your books.
I had fun coming up with them.
Well, so I have to ask now, you had mentioned like you loved Romantasy as a genre already. So what fantasy authors, like specifically Romantasy authors, influenced like some of your elements of your storytelling, or but you're, fangirling over prior to writing this series? I'm curious to know.
Yeah. So, I mean, I went through this, like when I was in science, I didn't have a lot of time for reading. So I went like, I don't know, a good long time where I didn't read. I'm actually playing catch up with all the like 2010 paranormal. I'm doing like a Cressley Cole deep dive at the moment. And I'm catching up with all the books that I missed. But I really loved True Blood and like Sookie Stackhouse, which is not fantasy per se, but I loved, the romance and the stakes, and the Eric was right there. But anyways.
Exactly.
So I loved that. Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I loved it. I actually didn't finish watching this series, and I didn't finish reading it either, because I heard that it's a less satisfying ending. So I'm just leaving it in my happy place of like, I just love, and I like really ship Sookie and Eric. Like, I just
Oh,
wanted
yeah.
them to be the one time I'll
Same.
go for the blonde love interest.
Yeah, exactly.
So I
totally.
love that. And then I randomly came across Sarah J. Maas before Book Talk, before she had like a pretty good following, but it wasn't like the crazy levels that
The
she has
level.
now.
Yeah.
And I
Mhm.
read ACOTAR and I was like, I think A Court of Mist and Fury, or the third one. Is that Mist?
Mhm.
Anyway, I think the third book in the series had just come out. And I was like, oh, I want more of this. Like, it reminded me of why I read fantasy growing up. It was
Yeah.
like, growing up, to age myself here, in the 90s, the fantasy options for girls were not really there.
Mhm.
Like, the one book where I felt like I could see myself was The Blue Sword by Robin McKinley. And it was like, it centered a girl who slays a dragon, a princess
Oh,
who
wow.
slays a dragon. And that was for me like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing. And I could, I fell out of fantasy eventually because, they're always centering men.
Yeah.
And they were much more about the plot than they were about the character, I felt. And so
Yeah.
that's what I connected to in Sarah J. Maas books was I loved the world building and the character development. It was like the perfect
Yeah.
marriage. So then I went down a deep dive of trying to find something like that. And so I think ACOTAR was classified as YA. So I was like trying to find something like that in YA. Little did I know that like YA doesn't tend to have like spice and like romance of that level. And so I
Yeah.
was totally looking in the wrong place.
Yeah.
But yeah, like eventually I found like so many amazing other authors. But yeah, ACOTAR was my gateway drug, I guess you could say.
I think it's a lot of
Takes one to know
people's,
one, honestly.
and yeah, mine.
I will
Mhm.
say that when it came to building the Ashen series, like I was less influenced by ACOTAR and Sarah J. Maas, and more influenced by Leigh Bardugo. I loved
Ooh,
that
yeah.
her magic system has like rules and classifications.
Mhm.
And I was also influenced by Brandon Sanderson because I
Okay.
read the Stormlight Archives, and I was like,
Yes.
okay, I need to go deeper on my magic system and my world building. Like, it's just so masterful in how he weaves his magic
planning.
system
Mhm.
into his world building and character development. Like, I don't know how he's like a wizard. I don't know how he does it.
And then
Um,
writes so many books. Like, how do you write that many books too? Goodness gracious. Like the
oh,
word count.
I
I can
mean,
only imagine.
I think he has a whole team. Like
Oh, now I'm sure.
he,
Yeah.
I think he also has less requirements at home than perhaps the average writer. I don't know. I mean,
That's fair. Yeah.
So the other book that really influenced me was The Handmaid's Tale. I was
Yeah.
reading that while I was drafting, and I think that's why there's like a bit of a darker edge with like the pillars and the
Mhm.
execution. That's all Handmaid's
Mhm.
Tale. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. So would you say that when you're writing, I know you said you did multiple drafts. Are you like a plotter where you have like an outline, or are you more of a I'm going to go with my characters and kind of have them surprise me as I'm writing?
I'm a bit of both. So
Okay.
I do need a plot. I do need to plot out. Like, I need to know where we're going. So when I was a kid and I wrote, I just pantsed it, or I would just start writing.
Yes.
And then I would taper off after a few chapters. I would just, not know where I was going. So when I approached it as an adult, I was like, okay, I'm going to know where I'm going. I want to finish this. So I did, like, for the Road of Bones, I knew where it was going. But and Kingdom of Claw roughly too, but I didn't know where the whole series was going. And I ended up working with a developmental editor who asked me, okay, how many books is it? And I was like, 5. And then, or I think I said 4. Anyway. And she's like, so how does it end? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I clearly had no idea. And she's like, well, maybe you should think about that. And I was like, really didn't want to do it because I will say that like plotting it's not my favorite thing. It's not fun to sit down with like a spreadsheet and like, okay, this is going to happen here. It takes a lot of patience and fighting within my brain, if you know what I mean.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't like necessarily feel good. So I avoid it all at all costs. But I also really need to do it.
Yeah.
This is like me explaining to myself why I've been having a really unproductive week because I'm currently trying to figure out Act 3 and like it's been plotted and written, but I have to like reshuffle things and it's.
Oh.
Anyways,
You
I
want to tell us
digress.
anything about that?
Is that Act 3 of the next book?
Of 4
It
or
is.
5?
Oh,
Or is it
Act
5?
3
Or 4?
of book 4.
Ooh.
So
Okay.
yeah.
Demi, at the
Yeah.
end, we're going to be like, is there anything you want to tell us that we haven't asked that maybe we should have asked? And that this whole thing could go into that.
Yeah.
bucket. I'm just gonna put it
Awesome.
out there. Yeah.
Well, so I did sit down and I plotted roughly out character arcs, romance arcs, rough
Okay.
book plots for all 5 books. And it's the best thing that I did because now I can sprinkle in these little Easter eggs that maybe you'll miss on your first read, but you'll go back and you'll see them. So yeah, I'm really glad that I did that in the end.
Well, that's why I
Yeah.
love Roots of Darkness so much. And like that's why I kind of getting to Michelle's question of like the plotting, was 2.5 always in the cards, or was like Hecla's story going to be part of another one and it got pulled out? Like how did we get Roots of Darkness?
This random novella in the middle of the series. Yeah, it was supposed
I love
to
it.
be.
It's one of my favorites of the whole
Mhm.
series. I
Thank
love
you.
Hecla so much. Like she's just the most inspiring badass. And then she also has this magic like arm thing and her whole story, and just I love her so much. I
Aw.
think she's just a fantastic, dynamic, diverse character that she deserved her own
Mhm.
novella and like gave her so much depth. By the time you get to Dawn of the North, like how much you know from, if you don't read that, like to me it's essential reading. A
Mhm.
lot of novellas you could be like, oh, you don't need to read that. I'm like, it should be the 2.5. You have to read it. You have got to read this book before you go into Dawn of the North. Like hands down, you have to read it.
And
Because it gives you
immediately
so much
too.
context. Yes.
Like immediately. If I read Roots of Darkness and I had to wait for Dawn of the North, I would have been so mad just because
Yeah.
I was irate.
Because of the
at that
ending.
ending. Yes.
Yeah.
How do you
Yeah,
make
that's
Yeah.
what
her
she was
see
texting me.
face colors?
Michelle was like, she's like, what's happening here? She's like, I can
you
hear, I
can't
can like
make
see
her
her
taste colors and be
angrily
betrothed.
punching the phone. Yeah. Trying to tell me like, what is going on? And I was like, I just don't know. I don't know how to help you. I can't answer that.
Oh. Yeah, so okay, so Roots of Darkness was supposed to be in Kingdom of Claw. Like that whole story was supposed, but it would have been like 1,000 pages. So I was like,
Okay.
it would have also, I felt like there was a certain like tightness with Scylla and Saga's storylines and bouncing them off each other, where, you know, something happens in Scylla's location that has ramifications on Saga's and vice versa. That throwing Hecla's completely separate story in there would have slowed the pacing and
Yeah.
just muddied things a little bit. I think especially having Saga introduced as a brand new POV character, like a major player, I had to make sure that readers were like on board with that before I then was like, okay, now Hecla's getting point of views. And then also, I distinctly remember after writing Kingdom of Claw being like, oh, I need to write something short. No more of these 700-page books. But then it turned out that this little 200-page novella it took me forever to write because I wrote it and then I was like, oh, I actually need to know like in pretty good detail how book 3 is going to play out, because like it's almost like a prequel to book 3 in terms of like the conflict. So I had to know exactly how that was going to play out, who did what, and like how it was resolved so that I can get all the details right. So anyway, it took me forever to write that novella. But, and then, you know, I wrote Dawn of the North so that you don't have to read the novella first, because originally the novella wasn't part of my book deal with Penguin. So I was like, well, I want to make sure that if people are buying like a box set or something like that, that they aren't like missing pertinent information. So I tried to like explain what happened in Roots as much as possible in Dawn with how like, you know, reliving the whole thing.
You do a good recap.
Thank you.
Like at the beginning. You do.
Yeah.
Because you like appreciate that we are, because as a romantasy reader yourself, you know what it feels like to wait in the middle of a series for a new book and be like, what the heck did I just read 2 years ago? I don't remember.
Oh my God, I have the memory of a goldfish. Yeah. I can't remember what I read last week. And terrible. But so I had intended for people not to need to read Roats to read Dawn, but everybody's like, you need to read this, which I'm like, yeah. And then in the end, Penguin did pick it up. So I was like,
yay.
Yeah.
But I also think like the level of depth that we get on both of their characters, really, Ivan and Hecla, is just like so. It just helps you appreciate book 3 so much more because you have so much more understanding of them, and I loved that. I could talk about that forever. I actually have an offshoot question that's not on our list of like the world building piece. I want to talk to you about like your magic and world building of like the Mist. Where did we get the idea for kind of like an intangible villain and like something that isn't truly and like an easy kill or like an easy solve? There's like layers to this, and I'm like curious how you decided to go about that and like what that was like as a writer to experience how you're gonna like formulaically lay that out. I just was if you have a minute.
Absolutely. And I'm just laughing because like I had this whole plan for that Mist, and it was going to be like a fungus, and those were going to be spores. So my background is in like biology and like biochemistry. Yeah. So I'm like a total science nerd. I was like, yeah, let's. And then they're making zombies, kind of like what's that show that ends with us?
The Last of Us,
The Last of Us, yeah. So I was like, that would be cool with like a Norse twist on it.
Thank you, Demi.
But then I started doing research on fungus and mycelium, and I was like, oh, I just went really deep, okay? Really deep in my research, and I realized how badly fungus has been, like, and mushrooms have been villainized. And so I was like, I can't villainize the fungi. Like,
he's literally called Fun Guy. We can't
he's
do that.
Literally the fun guy. So I was like, I can't perpetuate the negative stereotypes of the fungus. So anyway, instead of the mycelium being the bad guy, I just had it as they like hide. It's like this mysterious organism that like hijacks the network. Yeah. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I'm just laughing because I went really deep on my research.
No,
mushrooms are cool.
They are. They're so freaking
cool. So cool.
That does answer my question. I needed to know and understand that. Yeah.
So Demi, I have to know, which relationship dynamic was your favorite to write? Because we have a lot. That by the end of Dawn of the North, there are quite a few couples. Some unexpected.
There are, and it's hard to balance. You know, I loved them all in their own ways. I mean, if I had to pick a favorite, I think I would pick Scylla and Ray, because that's kind of the one that kicked it all off. That was the first one I had in my mind. And I didn't know Cassandra Rourke for a long time, but when I got to know him, he quickly became my favorite character, not even just couple, but my favorite character, because he is so chaotic. He's just like, and when we were talking about plotting, like, yes, I plot things out, but also as I am writing them, like sometimes characters have their own ideas, and he is one that is always messing with my plot. Like he's always throwing a wrench into things.
I love that. Because that's so him. So of course he would be fucking with your writing at like off page. Yeah, he is my favorite. I love Cassandra. Danny does not. But
I didn't say I didn't. He's not my top fave. I'm a Ray girly. I can't help it. That's what it is. That's where we are.
I love my sarcastic, charming little asshole. Like that's
he's
what I
always
like.
Messing everything up. Like you either want a calm, stable guy, or you want like the one who's always going to keep you on your toes.
No, I want my calm, stable guy at home. When I read my books, I need chaos. I read about those so I can have my calm guy.
Yeah.
At the end of Dawn of the North, the one couple that I didn't anticipate was Jonas and Signy. I was like, wait a minute. Wait a damn minute. What do you mean, Demi? What do you mean this is a thing?
I had a lot of fun writing them because I wanted to have Jonas be on the back foot because, he was always kind of like Mr. Bossy, Mr. In Charge. You're going to play by my rules. And then to have Signy be like, I'm hungry. Go get me some food after. I loved writing him be like, oh,
Submissive
shit.
has to be yes.
I guess I got to do what she wants. So she
can kill me.
Yeah, she might literally kill me.
Yeah, she might just be like, I'm done with you. You're no longer of use to me. Goodbye, On that note, so relating to your romance pieces of the multiple couples that are ongoing and how that drives plot to a certain point, I think you are also so good and very level-headed with how much spice you put in. It's not... You're not really doing spice for no reason. It's always driving something with plot. There's a reason it's there. We're finding out more. How do you balance how much romance you're going to have in a book? Do you think of it like that? Do you think like, I want to have 2 to 3 open door scenes? Because I know when someone asks you to like rate a book or something, a lot of times you'll see people talk about like, oh, there's 2 or 3 open door scenes and it's this level of spice or whatever. Do you think about any of that in relation to your world building or like how those character elements are going to tie in, or is it like organic as you're going through with your plotting? Where do those things kind of marry or tie out?
So that's really interesting. First of all, thank you. I'm glad that it comes across that they're intentional because that is my goal with a spice scene is there needs to be like, it's either moving the plot or it's moving character development or it's deepening a connection. It's not ever there to check a box. And when I first started writing, that's how I looked at it. I was like, okay, like there's going to be hands, then there's going to be mouths, and there's going to be like everything. And we're just like progressing and checking the boxes off. But that was something I learned from my developmental editor was she's like, it just seems like it's there to check off a box. And I was like, oh, okay. So I had to start thinking about it and actually figuring out where to put the spice scenes when you have 3 couples is very hard because, I've had it where like there were back-to-back scenes and it just like completely takes the wind out of the sails of that second scene. Like you've already had that like fun experience and now you're ready you need the downtime. And so that is definitely something that's been really hard for me is like balancing where they go and how much. I'm just laughing because I'm having trouble with a certain couple in book 4 and I've moved things around so many times and now I'm like, oh no, are they too close together? And
can't tell.
No comment.
Dang it, Demi.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so you're so some of your characters giving you problems, but that's interesting. So you're like really you're telling me very much that you're very intentional about your pacing so that your readers are having like a positive experience as they're reading these romantically involved moments that either drive plot, right, with Jonas, of course, multiple times in his storyline, it has driven plot. And you can tell, like I could tell right away when Scylla first hooks up with Jonas, I was like, well, I didn't know until they actually had their like true spice moment.
Oh, okay.
Like it was, I figured it out then that I was like, she's not really like she's having a good time, but is she having a great time? Like I'm
Is she
not
tasting
sure.
colors?
Yeah, like what's happening here? You know, like what? And, and on the same note, if Heko's having this moment with Ivan and she's tasting colors, and then you get a book ending like you did us, Demi, and you're like, oh my God, what the fuck? And like, you're just so pissed because that emotional involvement. And that's why I totally agree that, Michelle and I both have read a lot of, truly characterized smut that's basically it's just there. Not every single scene has intention. It's just, and it can kind of get boring and redundant, especially when you read a lot and you're like, okay, like, where are we going with this? What are we doing? And I have to say, Demi, all of yours that I've ever read have been so satisfying because that the reason we're reading this is there are other things at play. Maybe there's also something in the room that's going on or outside of the room or timing wise that where this is happening. Like, I feel like there's just a lot of layers of depth that you bring in, and knowing that that's factual, it gives me a good satisfaction as a reader. Like,
yay.
Okay.
I
makes me
definitely felt
happy too.
that with the epilogue. So I was like, oh, we're gonna get the king's perspective when his beloved
His beloved
mistress
concubine.
comes in. And I was like, oh my gosh, what just happened?
Yeah.
That was fun to
So-
write too.
Oh, I
wanted
bet.
to I wanted to off him for so long. Oh,
And I love that you did that.
good.
So
It's very satisfying to read.
right, especially that Signe is the one that got to do it, not the mistress. I
Yeah,
like how
she
she's
had
the
her
one-
little,
Mhm.
you know, the grandma from Game of Thrones from yeah,
Are you talking about
Oleana?
Hightower?
Is she
When-
Hightower?
Or no,
And
yeah,
she's like,
Olena.
Oh,
yeah.
Olena
Okay.
or some. Well, when she says like, "I want Signe to know that it was me that killed Joffrey," like that was
Yeah.
that's like little petty thing.
Yeah.
That was kind of what I pictured for Signe in that scene. Was just like, I wanted you to know it was me, kind of thing.
I love
Love
that.
it.
It's great.
So when with your writing, because you said right now that you're having some challenges with your characters in book 4. So what has overall been your biggest challenge in this series with the writing, or whether it's the writing of the characters or publishing or really anything that you can think of?
I think when I look back on it, I think the first 2 years were really hard for me because those 2 years were when I was writing The Road of Bones and really not, like I said, not just figuring out the world and the characters and the story, but like how to actually write. And it was like finding my writing style and what I'm comfortable with. Like I tried writing a draft that had a lot of purple prose, like very flowery kind of, and I was like, oh, this doesn't feel like me. And I had one that was like really dark romance-esque. And I was like, no, this doesn't feel like me either. So like I had to try out. And I think there was a lot of uncertainty and discomfort in like not knowing what my style was and not, I was an avid reader. So my taste level was like really here and my ability level was down here. So those 2 years were all about like closing the gap of like, how do I get like my vision and my actual skill level to be the same. So that was hard. And I was also in a group with a lot of self-published authors who were rapid releasing like many books a year. And I was still plodding along on the same book for 2 years. So I did have like some self-doubt, but I do think that me putting all that time and effort and doing, I did like 5 rounds of beta readers because Jonas, this character was so hard to get right. And now I look back and I'm like, that's exactly what I should have done because when I put the final product out, I was happy with it. And I think that's so important when you're putting it out and people are going to have all their opinions on it. At least I could feel proud of what I had done. And, even now I haven't read it in a while, but I still feel proud of, like, I'm sure there are things I could do better, like now that I've learned so much more, but it's not something that I look back and go, oh, I want to unpublish that and like edit it. Like that was for me. I wanted it to be something that was just out there. And then that was that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that answered your question.
No, it does. And, the time and the care that you took with Road of Bones shows because it is such a complex world. I mean, I haven't read another Viking romantasy or a Viking fantasy. Really, it's not something that's common. And you take that idea and you make such a complex world, even though a lot of what I've heard is like, well, they're just going down a road. It's like, no, they're not just going down a road. There's so many more nuances. And then the magic system just keeps growing and growing and growing. And it's so complex. So having that care in really the base of your entire series it was just fundamental in how seeing it greater. And I hope I know it'll continue to just grow and be as popular as the top novels, honestly. Like the series is so underrated.
Yeah.
It's so underrated.
You know what? That's also something was like when I first put it out, I knew it was kind of like a little bit more complex than what we tend to see in the romantasy space. So I was like very cautiously calling it romantic fantasy, and then everyone was just calling it romantasy, and I was like, okay, I give up. It's romantasy. But I knew it was like a little bit more complex, and I was wondering if people would go for that. So I'm really glad that people like my crazy brain and its ideas.
Love it. Love
Yeah,
it. Need
I
more
think
of it.
it could even be. Yeah, I think you could even put it in just the fantasy genre, honestly, because the
Honestly.
level of spice that you have is not. While the romance aspect is 100% part of your plot, it is in Game of Thrones too.
Yes, it
It's just
is.
saying,
Mhm.
like,
Yeah, and you
to
know
me,
what's
there's
funny?
no left. Like,
Yeah. No, that's so true. And I actually get a lot of husbands that read my book. And I've had even like husbands find it and recommend it to their wives.
oh,
I love
nice.
that.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
I will let you know. I was in a very large bookstore today, and some of your books were in the romantasy section, and some were just in the fantasy section. And I was like, okay,
Oh.
like they couldn't decide. Whoever put the books out, like, wasn't sure. And I feel like
One
that's
here, one
accurate,
here.
honestly, because I feel like there's
Yeah.
just it's not strictly one or the other, and that you could absolutely do both. But I have a
Yeah.
question for you. I want to ask on the Road of Bones note, related to world building and like the fact that you very early on in book one, the big thing we talked about in our episode on Road of Bones was specific to points of view right out of the gate. We get multiple points of view right out of the gate. And I wanted to talk about Skreda and how much I really liked her and how much depth she had as a character. And I just wanted to know like your thought process on her and how you decided to bring in multiple points of view from the start. Was that something you always wanted to do with your books, or what was the motivation for that?
So I knew there would always be multiple point of views in the book because of, my plan to bring in Saga and the way that I actually was intending to even give Signy her own point of views, but I got to a point where I was like, no more. Every time you add a new point of view, the pacing slows and the book gets longer. So I'm very intentional. But so Skreda's character actually wasn't in any of the initial drafts. I came up with her after consulting with my developmental editor, and she had me for homework watch like chase movies, like, The Fugitive, for example. And it made me realize that you always get the chaser's point of view. Like you get Harrison Ford for the bulk of it, but you also get Tommy Lee Jones. So you know what Tommy Lee Jones is doing behind the scenes. And that immediately builds like tension. The next time you see Harrison Ford, you're like, oh my God, buddy, like be looking over your shoulder because we know Tommy's on your trail. And so I was like, oh, well, I need a Tommy Lee Jones. And that's where Skreda came in. But then I had the idea to kind of like have her be a foil for Scylla in that they're both kind of struggling with the same thing,
Yes.
but they just make very different choices about how they go about it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't go as well for Skreda. But
No. Her quote at the end of Road of Bones is one of my favorite quotes in the whole book. The tie out, there's a level of depth of that, even with like women and how we're represented in the world and in a male dominated world that Skreda's in, and level of respect and how you have to chronically earn it, and just and her background, and there's so many layers to her. And I thought she was a fantastic addition now that I know that she was added in, but also no body. You don't see a body right away of some of their interactions we see. Like we don't see. So you're watching her. Like, where is she? Is she gonna find her? We know she's on the hunt for Scylla. Like, what's going on? Like, you guys watch out for her. Like it added such a level of suspense to the book that a lot of romantasy series don't have those extra elements and details. And it's not too much. Like, I think us as readers really enjoy how much depth this series truly has, and you absolutely have like a base of loyalists who will be singing for a long time about how complex and underhyped this series truly is, because that level of depth is very much appreciated, at least by me. I loved it, and I know Michelle echoes that sentiment.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So my next question is going to be a fun one. So if Road of Bones or the Ashen series ever became a TV series, who would your dream cast be for like your core characters? Have you ever thought of that?
Oh, yeah. Oh yeah. And you know what?
Oh,
For the longest
Okay.
time, the one I struggled with was Axe Eyes. I could not
oh
find
yeah.
Ray. And so initially I thought M'Baku from Black Panther, because he's got that like
Okay.
big, bulky build and he's got like a
Yeah.
really good glare, but his character is so like perky and like flamboyant. It's just not the same as Axe Eyes. Then when I saw Anthony Joshua punch Jake Paul out, and he had that, I don't know if you guys remember, he had this like little smirk before he did
Uh-huh.
it. I was like, oh my
Uh-huh.
God, that's Axe Eyes. He looked just like how I pictured him. So if you look up Anthony Joshua, that's sort of like how I
Wow.
picture Ray.
Okay.
As for Scylla, I've always had like a young Lily Collins, like in her Mortal Instruments era.
Ooh.
Okay.
But you know what? I feel like a lot of different people could play her.
Mhm.
And for for Cassandra, I can't remember the actor's name. It's like a model. But
That
for
fits.
Jonas, I
That-
kind
yeah,
of
that does
imagine
flow.
like, pardon?
So that fits. That he's a model. That totally
He's a
fits.
model. He's a model.
Yeah.
He's like a Brazilian model or something, and he's got these
Of
like
course.
smoldering green eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Totally fits.
Checks out.
for Jonas, I kind of picture like Charlie Hunnam, but maybe a little younger.
Okay.
Just
Okay.
yeah, from the biker show. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Spacing
you're-
on
oh.
it.
Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, Charlie Hunnam.
Okay. Yeah.
And the way everyone would love him. And then in this, because he's just, as an actor, everyone would be, and then if you've not read the book and you just go into the Road of Bones and like that's your first love interest, you're like, okay, game over. Like this is it.
You'd be
This is
like,
what we're doing.
this is
Yeah.
a blonde I can get behind. Like,
Yeah. And then the plot twist is just gonna destroy you.
Destroy you.
completely.
Yeah.
Yes. Which is fantastic.
Which now I'm
Yeah.
wary of blondes. I my husband is blonde, and now every time I read a blonde character, I'm like, nope, you're not it. Unfortunately, I'm
gosh.
sorry.
That's
and originally Jonas was like Sebastian Stan in my head. And then I was like, oh, I need like a blonde Viking. There's no blonde in the Blood Axe crew. So then I made him blonde, and then I was like, oh my gosh, I just like played into that stereotype completely. Oops.
no, but also I think Jonas has so much trauma and like the amount of depth he has as a character too, and just getting his POV. And we were talking about like his emotional intelligence or like lack thereof, right? So like he clearly hasn't been to therapy. The way he processes and thinks about how he's going to go about things, and just like the reasoning and justifications behind them are so emotionally driven without unpacking like any level of depth, because he's like, I don't have time for that. I'm not doing any of that. I'm a man's man. I don't need any of that. I'm going to go, and it's just very relatable to how he just goes about his processes. Like you could like read that from an outside perspective from someone else talking about him, and it does not give you his actual POV, like how he processes thought and like what's going on with him is it's so intentional and well written, and I enjoy, even though he annoys me and frustrates me in the best kind of way, I really enjoy reading him. He's like one of my favorite characters' points of view to read from, because I know he's always up to some shit, and so I'm like, what are we doing now, my friend? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, he's one of my favorites to write too, because his thought pattern is so black and white that I always know what he's thinking, how he's going to react, because it's just there's no nuance. There's no
No. He wants his revenge, and that's what he wants. He wants his revenge, and he wants to bring back honor to his family, and that's all he wants. And that's what he's going to
lands
get.
back.
Exactly.
I don't know if you guys saw my April Fool's post about book 4 being like a dispute of lands, and it was just Jonas, and it was like second chance to get his lands back. You gotta check that post.
Okay, I'll have to go see it. That's hilarious. Okay, so let's talk about like writing process. So when you're writing, kind of mentioned you use like the notebook and stuff like that. Do you have like a daily set of words you're trying to reach each day? Do you listen to like a certain playlist? Like go take us through, for those who are trying to write their own book, or for those who already have, like kind of what's your process as an author and what do you do to each day to kind of get yourself through to hit your goals?
Yeah, so I regular like office hours. I treat it like a full-time job. I definitely don't write for like a full 8 hours. There's a surprising amount of admin. Like I spend a surprising amount of time doing admin stuff, even though I have a PA. But and there's also different seasons. So at the start of the year, I was preparing for tour and book launch, and so there was less writing and more other miscellaneous things. And then after tour, I was like lockdown, only like hyper focus on writing. So yeah, I typically instead of doing word counts, that doesn't work for me because if I don't hit my word count goal, then I'm like disappointed and I actually think that deleting words is just as important as adding. So I want to celebrate that. So what I do is I count sprints. I have this timer and I will set a 25-minute timer and I'll just write without interruptions. And so my goal is to do 6 of those in a day.
Okay.
Sometimes I find that it's pretty easy to hit 6. And if I am like in the zone, I can do like 10. But
Wow.
today was the struggle bus. So I only did 6. And I actually only did 15-minute sprints. And I somehow managed to get like 2,000 words from that. So I was okay with that,
Yeah.
But I try not to get hung up on word counts. That just messes with my brain. So
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if that.
No, it does. No, I think one of the things we've asked, we've had a number of authors on. We've been very fortunate to have that and been able to talk. And I think process is so unique to the individual author that it's always interesting to us to understand what a person's process is and how they go about it. And I think it's important for our listeners to understand that, how you may write or your style of writing is limited to you, and you don't have to. There's no specific here's how you're going to be a bestseller absolute guide to doing this. There's many ways that you can kind of be successful in the author realm, and it's something I think we ask everyone to try to get a better understanding of their version of perceived success, of how they go about their day and what's a good writing day to them and what does that look like. Yeah.
And it can take some time to find your process. Like I played around with various software and incentive programs and things like that. But this is working for me now. So yeah.
How'd you come up with like the 25 minutes? Like how long did that take you to like determine this is the sweet spot of like where I can actually achieve it and feel good about it? And it's not about beating myself up that I didn't hit my word count, or how did that happen?
I think I was beating myself up for spending a lot of time on email. And actually, that's a terrible way for me to start my day. I need to kick. This is one habit I'm trying to kick is like not checking my email first thing. I need to start writing because, you get in your email and then you go down like 100 different roads and then you've used up all the good brain, all the morning brain. That's my best time. So I think it was like me counting how many sprints I did after getting sidetracked by email. And then being like, do your 6 sprints and then you can check your email. I think that's a bit of what it was. But yeah, it's just a bit of trial and error. And 6 is pretty easy for me to hit. Like it's enough that you feel like you're still getting forward momentum in the book. So
Awesome.
So earlier you mentioned that you go back and make sure they're like Easter eggs because of your plotting. So are there specific Easter eggs that we as readers, if we were doing a reread before book 4, or just in general, are there specific things that we need to pay attention to? Like minor conversations with characters or setting or anything that you can
One-off
kind of
moment.
give us?
Now that I'm thinking of it, I'm like, I mean, there was the wolf attack in the Road of Bones that comes back in book 3. If you want to reread the reaction of Sigrun after Ilias is killed, because she has a weird reaction that might come into play later.
Okay.
Also, you'll notice that like when she's in Hekla's book in Roots of Darkness, Sigrun is like, right? She's walking around, she's
Yes.
got her hood up,
Yeah.
and she's just like a little bit messed up by what happened and trying to
And her
sort things
character,
through.
I'm always like waiting to see where you're going with her, Demi. I'm like, she's here. We don't know
You're
a lot
gonna-
about her. She's very mysterious. She hasn't really
Yeah.
been fully fleshed out yet, but she keeps coming up like
Yeah,
again
yeah.
and again. There's little instances, little moments with her and Hekla, or little moments even with her and Scylla from book 1, just like different little types of things where I'm like, okay, we got to keep our eye over here. Something's going on.
Yeah.
I know we're not going to leave this hanging.
Yeah.
But she's definitely one of the crew that we haven't really gotten to know very well.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, so you'll get her backstory, but she's always going to be like a side character. She'll never be like a Hekla where you get like her point of views. So I had to get creative with how to tell her story. And yeah, you're gonna get a little bit of that if you I can't really say things without like outright spoiling, but like there are
Okay.
some things in Cassandra's past that will come back into play in book 4 that have been mentioned. I'm trying to think what else. You know, like
all the
I tr-
winged horses, that entire, oh my God.
I
love
grew up on My Little Pony, so it was like
I loved it.
Yay.
I love that.
Yeah.
That whole
Mhm.
section, I was like, yeah, this is so freaking badass. Because I knew
And
I
they're
was
all
like talking about
badass
the
women
theme.
too.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah. I liked that all the men had to like clean the horse stuff.
Yes.
Like that they had to feed the horses and groom them
Yeah.
and stuff. I was like,
It was
yeah.
very Wonder Woman. I was like, we are very going Wonder Woman here, and I'm here for it. I loved it. I thought it was great. Okay. So should we, I know we have planned books 4 and 5. Will there be any like fun novellas? Do we have anything in the works? Like anything extra in there? I know we're working heavily on book 4. Is there anything you want to tell us? Any news that maybe we should be looking out for in the Ashen series that you haven't talked about already?
I get asked if there will be more novellas all the time. And the truth is that I do have an idea for a Sigrun novella. I had such a weird experience publishing Roots of Darkness that I'm kind of discouraged from. You know, I want to stay with my publisher. I want to stay traditionally published. But they it was hard to convince them to pick up the novella. Although the sales have been really good, so maybe that would convince them. I guess like it was kind of hard. There was a lot of scene stuff not related to my publisher at all. It's other behind the scenes stuff that has just kind of discouraged me from writing that novella. Yeah, without getting too much into it. But I think that also what is going to happen is by the time I'm done book 5, I'm going to be ready to write something new. Because I've spent a long time in this world, and I have some other stories kind of kicking around in there that I want to explore. So, you know, I will never say no, but I don't anticipate that I would like right away release a novella. You know, maybe in a few years or maybe not at all. I don't know.
Yeah. I have one other question on your characters and like how you've built them. And the question I have is, it seems exceptionally intentional, the level of inclusivity you have in your books. These are very complex, dynamic, diverse characters with a varying array of disabilities or abilities, however you want to say it, and different things that are just uniquely tied to them. And when you're building the Blood Axe crew, what was in your mind of what you wanted to perceive as strength, or what you wanted to perceive as what things might be limiting factors to others? But when you read the book, like the Blood Axe crew, regardless of perceived things that could be perceived as a weakness, have become something that's really powerful for them. Can you walk me through that a little bit as far as like how you decided to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to write an inclusive world, and I think we all know that the Viking Age was pretty monochromatic. Uh,
What?
and it was actually very not welcoming to LGBTQ. Like, it was
Mhm.
not a good place to be if that was where you were. But I like it's fantasy. Like,
Yeah.
let's reimagine a fantasy world where it's not like that.
Yeah.
I want people to feel seen, but it was really important to me to make sure that I was portraying the characters in a positive light. And so I worked a lot with sensitivity readers on Hecla and Sigrun's character. As Sigrun being nonverbal, it's kind of easy for her to get lost. And so, like, I had to put a consistent effort into, like, making her be heard, even with her hand speak.
Yeah.
And for Hecla, you know, there were, like, things I hadn't even considered that my sensitivity reader was like, "So where's her amputation? Is it above the elbow? Is it below? How does the, like, prosthetic arm, like, secure to it? Is it with a strap?" Um, and, originally, I had imagined her to have, like, a Winter Soldier, like, super arm that eliminates her disability. Like, it solves all her problems and improves her life. But I didn't really want to write it like that. I rewrote her arm to be, like, a little bit more cumbersome, like, it got stuck in the reins, and she gets, like, an irritation, and
Yeah.
Scylla has to make her a poultice, and just, like, those little details that I think make it more real and more
Yeah.
accurate portrayal. But yeah, no, I don't know. I think that our world is beautiful because there's so many different people with so many different experiences, and I just wanted that to reflect in my world.
And when Kritka comes back with her arm and Roots of Darkness, I'm like, yes, he's back
Yeah,
in his
he's
full
back,
form.
and he has her arm. Yeah, like that. Okay, so that's the whole scene where Hecla has to stitch up Avon without her arm. I was
Mhm.
like, is this even possible? So I have a friend who's a doctor. And I was like, "Can you walk me through this?" And she sent me diagrams
Oh,
and all sorts of things. She's like, "If she were to
wow.
do it, I think she'd have to do it like this." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, thank you." So,
That's awesome.
but yeah.
Yeah, the whole time I
Amazing.
was like, "Damn, girl, now we gotta have to stitch this freaking guy up with one arm missing," and then, oh, yeah. And just,
Yeah.
like, talking animals. Who doesn't wanna read about talking animals? I do all day. That was great.
What, right? Well, what made you pick a squirrel? Like, of all critters,
Yeah.
why a
Yeah.
squirrel?
So there is a character from Norse mythology called Ratatoskr, and he is like the squirrel on the world tree, and he brings the gossip from, like, the dragon that eats the roots to the whoever is in the leaves. I can't remember. But so he's, like, running all over telling them the gossip. So that's where his character was
Oh, I love
inspired
that.
by.
I love that.
Alright, so my other question for you is the agoraphobia. There's definite agoraphobia happening in this book. I wanna talk about mental health and your ability to intertwine mental health in so many different ways, including Jonas. We have multiple ways that you have incorporated the mental health of your characters, their points of view, and in the development of each of these characters. So what are we likely to see for them from growth in book 4? And also, what's kind of your intention there? And I actually just like did that, so I wanted to talk more at where you're at.
Yeah, I mean, so I was going through this, like, burnout, really low place when I wrote the Rotabone, so a lot of that came from me, like, working through my own stuff. It's like, this book is gonna be my therapist. It's gonna cure me. Um,
Sure.
yeah, so a lot of that stuff did come from me, like the addiction storyline, 100% from me. I just really wanted to see that represented, like, accurately in a book where it's not like some magical cure. Like, it's a
No,
thing you
Stella,
live
she's
with.
battling the leaves, like, every day of wanting to,
Yeah.
all of that, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. And Saga's agoraphobia came about because I was like, realized one day I hadn't left the house in 2 weeks. And I was like, how does that even happen? Like, you can get your groceries delivered, you can arrange, like, everything. It's just, I don't know how I got to that point. I found myself really anxious around leaving the house. And it was like such a slow creep up that it really caught me by surprise. And when I was imagining Saga's character stuck in that castle, I could just imagine her slowly sequestering herself away. Being like, I'm not going to go outside, and then I'm not going to go to that part of the castle, and then I'm not going to leave my wing, and then I'm not going to leave my room, and how that set seemed like really realistic to me. So yeah, I mean, Dawn of the North, though, I was like, okay, you need to go outside. Like, I really need you to go outside now, Saga. So there was like definitely a lot of exposure therapy
and like not a little bit.
Mhm.
Oh no,
Like-
not a little bit. Yeah, like I really needed her to be outside. So
Yeah.
I'm really lucky. I had a sensitivity reader for agoraphobia, but she didn't have lived experience, and so she can tell me the symptoms, but the thought process and everything is only going to come from somebody with like true lived experience. I never had panic attacks. So I reached out to my readers, and I had two who suffered from agoraphobia who were like, I love Saga and I want to help you with her. So they volunteered, and they're amazing. And I'm sure they'll read for me some more in book 4, but like her condition is less of an obstacle at this point. Like she's going to have to keep working at it for the rest of her life, but it's not as much of a central conflict for her at this point.
Mhm.
Jonas, he's been through a lot. He's been grieving for most of the series, and I think in book 4 he's slowly starting to come out of his grief and look at the world around him and be like, okay, how did I get here? So yeah, like, did I just totally spoil it? Like, I don't know.
No.
But yeah, he's
Right?
starting
I feel
to
like
think.
that's-
He's starting to think a little bit more clearly in book 4.
Okay.
Of he's starting to come out of that fog of grief. Who else? I mean, Ray is gonna deal with
Ray.
some stuff.
He's got
Book 4 has
Ray
always
was
been
fine.
Ray's book. He's gonna be on the cover.
Ooh.
And it's his book. I mean,
I'm so
yeah.
excited.
Yay. Okay.
So yeah, he's got some stuff to deal with. And yeah, it's
Are we
hard to
getting-
like. Oh no, it's hard for the like to over the span of 5 books to like continually evolve like mental health struggles. So I do feel like there has been a bit of resolution for some of those characters, but
Yeah.
I don't want it to ever feel like it's just like done, not an issue anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think it's cathartic to watch in the same vein of you can create a Nordic a Viking world that now has a lot of inclusivity. You can also, as an author, have mental health be something that's an internal battle that can be overcome or worked through, inclusive of understanding sensitivities from real life experience. You can do that, and that's something you can do as a choice to make it seem like this is a battle and a struggle that these characters are learning to work through, and it gives them an extra level of depth too, that you don't have to just be confined to this mental health struggle, and it's only the only piece of your identity, that there isn't more that you can do with that. And so I think that's great that you're able to continue to be creative with how they're going to work through those struggles. I guess one of my questions for like magic and the magic system, I feel like there may or may not be a lot more that we're going to see about this world and system that we haven't figured out or seen just yet for book 4 and 5. What are there new characters maybe that we're going to get introduced to that have points of view that we haven't heard from yet? What are we thinking as far as the remainder of the series that you can tell us without giving us lots of spoilers?
So there are no more point of views being added. I'm just trying to be very mindful about making sure that all loose ends are going to be tied up and not introducing too many new threads because yeah, like I just want to make sure that it has a really satisfying conclusion. And like I said, every time I add a new point of view, it adds page numbers, and it can potentially slow down the plot. So like originally Signy was going to have an entire plot where you saw her whole backstory and all sorts of stuff in Dawn of the North. But I had to get creative instead and show a little bit of that from Jonas's point of view. Yeah. I'm not sure if that answered your question.
It does. And
No,
I can
it
tell
does.
that you're like, let me not give anything away. Okay,
It's so hard. Oh my God,
Yeah.
like I want to tell everybody everything all the time. That's the hardest part for me is like, I want to tell everybody.
Yeah. And just for our listeners, do we have a date or a known date of when we could expect book 4 or what the expectations are for that?
I mean, I have a date, but it's like extremely flexible. And
Okay.
I don't think we will have like a solid date until I get my copy edits back. I'm still on developmental edits. So
Okay.
we won't know for a bit, but like it is tentatively scheduled for the first half of 2027. I mean,
Okay.
it's going to
We're
come in
just not a-
2027. Like
Right.
it will be. It's just a matter of which month is all.
Okay. Okay. That's fair. All
Awesome.
right.
And
Any
I've
other-
seen a cover sketch.
Oh,
And
okay.
I was immediately like, this is going to be awesome. I will say that I've had like a rough time with covers because I've just been through, I think I've had like 4 different cover designers.
Oh, wow.
And it hasn't been always like a super fun process, but you know, Penguin Random House is not going to put out a bad cover. So there's just like, I'm so happy that they're taking care of it. And I just like say, let's like move that a little to the left. And like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't have to make the big choices.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that can be daunting. So you originally had paperbacks and now where you have hardcovers, or I think you have both for at least on Amazon. Are you going to have any sort of like sprayed edges or like special editions that you have planned for any of your books?
For the listeners, I just pouted because my imprint does not do sprayed edges.
Oh,
And yeah, like I would love, it's hard to stand out in the romantasy space without like these deluxe editions. Like
Yeah.
people want their books to be
Yeah.
like works of art these days. But there are special editions in the works. If you guys have seen the Moonlight Book Box edition, it's all the way up there on my shelf. But Moonlight did a stunning edition, and they are doing a reprint because so many people wanted it that couldn't get it. So they're doing a reprint, and they at the same time as they're doing books 2 and 3. So and my readers were all up in their comments like, are you going to do the novella? And so voraciously that they are now going to do the novella.
good.
Yeah.
We need a whole
That's
set.
I
Yes.
was like,
And you
Go
better not be
readers.
making some of them shorter and
Oh my
whatever.
gosh.
No. Uniformity.
gosh.
Look at your bookshelf. You guys are not seeing Demi's bookshelf for those who are listening. The color coordination and like the way that she has this done behind her is like stunning. This is good news for us readers. This means she cares about how her physical books are going to be looking. And this is important because we care about it deeply. So
Yes.
please.
Also, like, nobody asked me about the teeny tiny little novella. Like, nobody asked. It showed up at my house and it was tiny. I was like, wait, an opinion.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
But yeah,
The struggle is real. I got it.
I was like, people are not going to be happy. It's short, but you know, it was a publisher decision, so it is what it is.
Now you guys know you're gonna get something new. So that's cool.
Yeah. So Moonlight has these amazing, beautiful editions, and there is another book box that will be doing one in the fall sometime, and apparently there are others that we're in talks with, but I don't know any details. Hopefully we get some good special editions for the collectors out there, and yeah.
We would love that. One more question for you, Demi, before we go to our next segment is for our readers and listeners, is there any message you want to convey to anyone or any information or news that we should know that we didn't ask about? We would love to know if there's anything there.
Sure. This month I'm doing a Shop Indie campaign. So I have mailed out vellum overlays and signed book plates to over 100 independent bookstores. and they're sized to fit either paperback or hardcover. So if you want to get them, there's a whole list of participating bookstores on my website. And next month, we're doing like a longest day marketplace kind of thing for my licensed merchandisers. So they're going to be having sales and giveaways, and they're going to do Discord takeovers in my Discord group, which is really fun. I'm just like, I really like to do all these like fun engagement type of things with people in between releases, because it keeps my brain happy to, have these like little side quests besides the book. And yeah, I feel like it helps also like keep word out about the books and it on people's minds. We're also going to be doing a summer reading challenge. Details to come with that, but it'll be like 8 different authors, and an author will like host like a read along essentially in their reader group every week, and hopefully we get to like read some really good books, because some of them are on my TBR forever. So I'm like, yeah, I'm excited.
Oh, that's awesome. It's actually a really good segue to our Down the Rabbit Hole segment. So now we're going to jump over to our Down the Rabbit Hole segment, where we talk about different things that are going on in the bookish community, popular things, sometimes historical bookish things, and just a variety of things. So Demi, your first time with us for this, but today's bookish rant is really more of a observation in the bookish event space. So we have seen the number of book cons and conventions kind of explode in the last couple of years. A lot of them, especially related to very niche genres that might have been included in one type of convention that covered books overall, but now they're having their own book conventions, Romantasy Book Con being one of those, and then just a variety of different ones. And so one of the things we talked about in another Down the Rabbit Hole segment was tied to some of the social media etiquette of some of guests that go meet with authors, expectations that people have of authors that might be unrealistic. Do you, as an author, feel that there's a level of pressure to act or perform in a certain way in those settings? What do book cons look like for you, and what other ones are you going to attend or not attend this year? What's been your experience with that?
So my first ever book con was Romantasy Book Con in LA last year, and I did not know what I was getting myself into. First of all, it's like a 7-hour signing. And I didn't know that I needed to order lunch in between. I was such a baby. Like, I didn't know anything.
Oh.
And so like I didn't have lunch, and I was on the floor like talking to people for 7 hours. And that was like, at this point, my stamina is a lot longer. But if you met me in LA during my first convention, I was probably struggling pretty hard. And I'm still a little bit haunted by whether or not like I was trying so hard to mask and put on a bright face, but I was like very overstimulated and really wanting a break. But I just felt like I couldn't let the people in the line. I had a line the whole time. That was the problem. I was like, oh my God, I have a line.
That's fantastic.
For like the whole 7 hours. So I was very overwhelmed. And I since then have like my stamina is so much better. I also know that I take timed breaks. Like I just have to tell people in the line, I'm going to go to the bathroom. I'm going to have a drink of water. I'm going to eat a granola bar. And then you're going to get the best me. Because if I can't push through, I just learned that about myself. Yeah. And so also my PA will go through the lineup and be like, Demi's going to take a break, just so you know. So I feel, better about putting those boundaries in place. But yeah, I love the conventions. I leave exhausted and yet energized. It's so cool to meet my readers and to interact with them and hear how it has impacted them or what they thought about a certain scene or something. I love them. It was just that first conference was like, oh my God. Yeah. That was intense. It was intense.
Yeah.
And like, how would you know that? I would feel like you would know that when they're setting up the convention. I'd feel like they'd be like, okay, Demi, here's your space of what you're going to do. And like, by the way, we've already blocked out. Like, I wouldn't even know like to ask stuff like that. To me, that would seem like common sense. Like, why would I need to like ask for that. But then I could also understand the pressure of like, these people have been waiting. They're waiting to see me. I don't want to disappoint my readers. I want to make sure I get that opportunity. I don't want anyone to feel like they got left out or that I didn't care as much about them or any of those messages. And so like there's a political element of like, how do I manage this? Especially Michelle and I were talking too about like how, authors for the most part, what did you say earlier in the interview? Like you noticed that you hadn't left for 2 weeks of your house because you work at home. Like you're right.
We're introverts.
Yeah.
We're
exactly.
introverts.
And then you throw them in a convention where there are thousands of people trying to talk to you the whole time. Like your emotional battery just drains instantly. And I think that it's a good thing that you set the boundaries because people need to see that boundaries exist and that authors are humans.
And now every time... Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
You're good. No, you're good.
Every time I meet a new author or they're going to like one of these book cons for the first time, I'm like, okay, here's what you got to do. Make sure you take bathroom breaks. Don't be afraid to be like, I'll be back in 10 minutes. Like, schedule them and make somebody force you to go because like you're going to want to keep going, but you need to leave and you need that 10 minutes. Because like, if a reader's coming to see you at a convention, like you want them to get your best self. You don't want them to get the hangry, delirious, like don't know what day, time, month it is. So
yeah, and I think too, like let's talk about like levels of conventions and years in the game type of thing. So like I just went to MegaCon, Orlando's MegaCon in March, and they've been doing that for several years. And the way they do it with their signings or their levels of who they get who do signings, they get some very high level actors and things like that have very clear known boundaries, but they also have an app that runs their whole convention where they have very specific timelines of this is when you're going to get your signing. And hey, at the 20-minute mark, the person's done. Like they're walking away, but you can stand here in line and hang out and they'll come back. But this is like the window. And I think maybe over time, because again, I think part of the bookish rabbit hole piece is that the romantasy genre has exploded. The number of book conventions has also exploded. And it's come to where a lot of event programmers, people that are doing this, maybe are learning as they're going too. And so maybe what we'll see is, my question to you, Demi, is like, what would you like to see like as this evolves to make the whole event better for everybody? What does that look like from the author perspective?
That's such a good question. So I do think that part of my issues are that I'm like on the cusp of needing to be ticketed. Because in the past, the LA convention I did this year, I had like a 30 to 40 minute line the entire time. And I don't want my readers to spend their time in the line.
Right.
But I also want to be on the floor. I don't want to be sequestered up in some room all by myself. And not every reader who wants to see me can come and see me if I'm ticketed. So it's just like I'm kind of hovering there. But one thing that I experienced at Books, Gowns, and Crowns was this amazing like virtual queue where the like ticketed authors had this like QR code. They would come up, scan it, and it would put them in a virtual queue. The only issue was that it was telling them like 16-hour wait. And so they had to have like a person standing there like clearing the list as it was moving through because it was clearly going a lot faster than that.
Yes.
But it felt lovely because I didn't have the pressure of this huge line and I felt like I got to talk to the readers, very like casual, no pressure, not trying to like rush them through. It was just felt really good to me.
That's cool though.
I'm trying to think like I haven't been to any like bad conventions. I do think...
not in that vein. More of just like improvements. How do we get better in overall, and how do we make the experience better for you all and better for the readers? Because I don't think it's not isolated specifically to your experience. It's more like I've just seen a lot of it talked about on Book Talk. A lot of like, one, 2 or 3 times last year there were like bookish themed like dances and stuff, like the parties and events that you go to, and you get there and it's like a tablecloth and right, like you've spent all this money and you get there to have this event and it's just so poorly planned and not not done well. And it's just like, I think there's this thing of like, there were authors who had shown up to certain things and they get there, and again, it's just completely poorly mismanaged. And you always have risk with stuff like that, but I thought that from understanding it from the author perspective of what are ways that we can improve and get better, or things that you thought were creative or good that would be good for implementation in the future. And I think you basically already answered that.
Okay, so one sort of struggle I've encountered is that because I'm not a self-published author anymore, I can't be selling my books at my table. So I rely on the on-site bookstore. And it has been hit or miss as to whether they stock enough of my books. So
interesting.
Yeah, that is something that from a traditional published author's perspective could be somehow improved. I don't know how though. Because I know sometimes you can pre-order through them, and sometimes you can't. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. That's like a level of nuance that we wouldn't know, right? So like we come in kind of as press or kind of in the media lane, which is totally different than a way that you would approach it. It's also totally different than just a ticketed guest would approach it.
Right.
And so we have a bunch of unique questions that we ask, like what we can do, when we can post, how can we participate, what are ways that we can get involved. It's totally different than the avenue that the author has, or even the ticketed person has, of how they balance going to these events and who they're able to see. And I love the idea of the virtual queue, because that way, and maybe that even allows you to schedule your time in such a way that you might even get to like walk around the convention a little bit and like see some stuff. Like, wouldn't that be nice?
I don't know if you can see, I'm wearing raven skull earrings.
Oh,
I got them at Romantasy BookCon, but I was late for my table. Showed up. I was like, sorry guys, I was shopping, but look at my cute earrings. But yeah, I would love to have some time to look around in the room. Actually, in the Romantasy BookCon Orlando, they staggered the two different rooms lunchtimes, which was amazing, because then I got to go walk through the other room, which I really appreciated.
it was smart.
Yeah. Oh, I had another thing, but
no, that's okay. Well, I'm going to ask you another question. Do you have any book cons that are upcoming throughout the year that you're attending? Where can we find you this year?
Yeah, I'm going to the City Fling in Austin, June 12th, I want to say, 12th and 13th, I think. And I have a public signing at Book People on the Sunday, June 14th. Like, I'm staying in town an extra night because I really wanted to have a public signing, because I haven't done any events in Texas and I've been asked a lot. And so I also like the convention is sold out. So I like to have like a public event for people who couldn't get tickets. So that's happening then. And then like pretty well, not much happening in the summer. I'm doing one like book tour event with Stacey Marie Brown in Vancouver. And then in September, Books, Gowns, and Crowns in San Diego. And my mom is coming to assist. So she'll probably call me Demi Moore. Demi Winters is a pen name. So my mom struggles so hard with it. So she called me Demi Moore half the time.
Oh, that's funny.
She tries.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Can't believe
for effort.
Yep.
Love it. All right. Well, Michelle, you want to kick us into Mystery Q&A?
Yeah. Well, now it's time for Mystery Q&A. This is where we pick just random questions, non-bookish, or they can be bookish, and they haven't been shared with either of us prior to asking. So my question will be mainly because, Demi, we haven't had a conversation before, but what's your comfort drink? Like, what's your go-to comfort drink?
So I don't drink alcohol, but we have a soda stream and I really love drinking this is so boring. I love plain fizzy water.
Okay.
Also, I love a good cold crispy Diet Coke.
There we go.
Like, it has to burn. It has to burn my esophagus.
Like from the can, from like a specific, from a can.
From the can, cannot be watered down by ice. It mellows the burn. I need it to singe.
Scorch you. Okay.
Okay. That's awesome.
Mine right now is like an iced matcha. I've been on like an iced matcha kick. Yeah, I am. I'm on like a tea kick that's going on. I was like into chai for a little bit. Then I'm into matcha right now. Right now I have what I'm drinking is actually just like a flavored coconut water. I love coconut water too. I don't like the overwhelming one, but like I don't know. I like coconut water right now too. It's hot as fuck in Florida right now. Okay. It was like 117 degrees or something absurd outside. It was just like painful to even like walk outside. It's so freaking hot. So a lot of our drinks right now are just like comforting and definitely have a lot of ice. Like it's so much ice that like when you go to a coffee house, like I always get a sleeve for all my ice drinks because the cup sweats like immediately. So like I need one of those, what is it, like a Java something? There's like a Java sleeve thing now that they have. I got to find out. They have them like in all different colors and things, but something iced preferably and probably with tea. What about you, Michelle?
Well, since having my son since being pregnant, I'm a coffee drinker, but I couldn't stand the smell of coffee. And since I'm breastfeeding, I have to watch my caffeine. So I've been into dirty sodas because sodas don't have as much caffeine. So I'll have like a dirty Diet Coke, and it gives me like that little bit of like it's kind of a nice coffee, and I not having like 200 to 300 milligrams of caffeine. So that's been my comfort drink lately, and it's cold. Like Danny said, it's hot as fuck outside. So, yeah.
I would survive for like 2.5 seconds in that heat. I'm like the poor Canadian girl, and her blood is boiling.
It does
not
take some
pleasant.
acclimating. Yeah.
I've lived here most of my life for 29 years, and I hate it. I cannot. Ugh. I feel so bad because my daughter's like, let's go play outside. I'm like, no, you can go play outside.
Yeah. Okay. My question is, what's like, and maybe this isn't a thing for you, but like, what's a favorite comfort movie? Like you put it on in the background and like, it just gives you like a warm and fuzzy and you can just do things about the house, but you know, it's on and it just makes you feel good that it's on. You know, all the ending, you watch it again and again. What's one of those movies for you?
I don't really watch TV anymore because nothing hits like a good book. So can I say instead a comfort read?
Yeah, absolutely.
My comfort read when I'm like down and I need a sure thing is Lisa Kleypas. She writes historical romance. And so Devil in Winter with Sebastian St. Vincent and Evie, that's my go-to. It's so good.
Okay. Yeah. So if we're going to go comfort authors that are like truly like comfort reads that are kind of old school, been around forever, is probably Nora Roberts. I find her series so comforting. They're just like a comfortable read. They're just, you kind of know where it's going to go. She's very formulaic. She usually does trilogies. It's all very like, you know, very feel good vibe. Like one of my favorites, there's 2 series of hers that are very comforting that I've read a couple times now because they're just easy reads and I just really like them. So if we're going to do comfort books, probably a Nora Roberts. Although, Demi, I would read your series and I already have read it more than once. I love your
thank
series.
you.
Now, whether I find it comforting does not fit the bill. That is where like, let me be clear. Most of the stuff, and you can look behind me, I really love like darker romance and I love thrillers, but if I want something comforting, like a good Nora Roberts, like quick, I can read them fast. I already know what I'm getting myself into. They're very formulaic, like I said, and they can be comforting. So that's probably my answer.
I don't know what this says about me because my comfort is like dystopian. If I can go dystopian fiction, that's what I'll go to just because I don't know. It's comforting, I guess. I emerged as a reader during the dystopian era. So I'm like, because I'm younger millennial, so I kind of missed the Twilight boat. I was a little bit too young for that. So next was like the Hunger Games. So yeah, I love me some Hunger Games. I love Margaret Atwood, and I've reread like her books multiple times.
Not comforting.
Like, I know.
Nothing comforting about that.
I know. That's what I'm like. I don't know what this is about me, but I'm like, you know what? Like, if I ever want to reread something, I'll reread dystopian. So, and it's not just like The Handmaid's Tale. Like, Orcs and Crake is a great one too, where it's kind of a little bit younger-ish. So yeah, a good dystopian is a comfort. Yeah, that says a lot.
Well, I can't judge you because I'll be honest. The first series I thought of that I was like comforting was the Hunger Games movies. I'll put those on in the
No,
background.
those are my
and I've
movies.
seen them
Yep.
all, like a bunch of times, and I just love them. I think they're so good. They're so well casted, and they're well done, even now. And then I thought to myself, I'm like, that's not very comforting, is it?
No, I
No,
just
it's
rewatched
not.
them, and I'm like in this dark room rocking my son. I have like the TV on like the lowest possible, so like there's like minimal blue light. And then my daughter comes, she's like, "What you watching?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm just watching the Hunger Games." I'm like, "Wait, you can't watch this." Never mind. This is not your age appropriate.
Oh, I guess there's
movie.
some murder and stuff.
Children killing each other. It's fine, you know?
My other comfort was going to be Interstellar, which again is like not at all comforting.
No.
It's a dad and a daughter that are like separate for their whole lives. And like, anyway, I don't know what that says about us. Sorry, Demi. We're just like this. We can't help it.
This is us. All right. Well, before we wrap up, let's talk about what's coming up next on Book Club After Dark.
Next week, we're going to have another interview guest for you. More to come. Check our socials. And we're looking forward to having that interview with you. So don't forget to subscribe.
And don't forget, we want to hear from you if you have thoughts on The Road of Bones or the Ashen series and anything we talked about with Demi Winters, because she is amazing. And thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really had so much fun.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, anytime. So drop a comment below or message us on one of our social media platforms at Book Club After Dark Pod. Show us your fan art, theories, or anything bookish you'd like to share.
Yes. And Demi, where can everyone find you if they want to reach out to you? I know you mentioned a Discord while we were in the episode. You got a website. Where can we find you?
Yeah, I'm Demi Winters Writes on TikTok and Instagram, and all my links are in the link tree, so you can find everything else there.
Awesome. You can also visit our website, bookclubafterdark.co. Stay up to date on our cozy content. Check out our merch.
That's all for tonight. Sleep tight, night owls. Until next time, happy reading.
Yep.